Hello and welcome back to Sorted Food. Now today it's going to be super awesome because we have the brains behind one of London's best award-winning Sri Lankan restaurants, Hoppers. Karan, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Finally behind the scenes. I've been watching you guys for years and years on YouTube, learning how to make a curry. And now I'm here on the other side.
You're supposed to be the expert. This is an expert today.
This is where I lead. See you.
Do you know what though?
Okay, I'll come back.
Curry itself is a huge learning curve because there are loads of different methods and techniques to get the most out of ingredients and spices. And I think a lot of people make common mistakes at home. So today, we're going to put our 3 common mistakes, Jamie, Barry and Mike, to the test to make a dish. And Karan, we're going to kind of eke out loads of useful tips and tricks from yourself so we can all learn together.
We've got a bunch of ingredients there. I'd let you firstly figure out what they are, and then figure out how you'd use them if you were to combine everything you see in front of you in a pot to create a dish.
Brown onion.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Red onion.
Good to have you here.
Curry leaf.
Or cafe lime.
Oh, I see what's happened here.
That's come straight from the restaurant.
As part of one of those, you know, the kits we sent to you guys a while ago, which I think you seem to like.
No.
Boys, you've got familiar with the ingredients in front of you. They are all weighed out for you. All we want you to do is put them together into one delicious dish. It's Karan's recipe. What is it?
This is Sri Lankan chicken curry, but we're going to be using Jaffna curry powder. So it's not necessarily a northern curry. You've got different curries from every region. This is just one we really like, and it's going to be a nice, you know, spicy, potent curry.
You do have 20 minutes to get it underway and bubbling away, and your time starts in 3, 2, 1, cook.
Okay.
Slice some onions.
Sure. Yes. Slice or dice?
Slice.
Dice.
Whoa. What are we thinking of doing first? Where are we going first? What's step one? What's
surely
step one?
the base.
Let's make a curry paste. Toast the spices, grind the spices, add the spices into onion, garlic and ginger, form it into a paste and then fry it off.
Are we going to put any flavour on the chicken?
Yeah.
So what about
We need to marinate the chicken.
in
Oh,
coconut
hello.
milk and the ground spices?
No.
Right.
Oh, no, silly idea.
Why would that be stupid?
Buttermilk.
I just think,
Well, what do you think?
The word curry.
Yeah.
Where does it come from? What does it mean?
This is interesting. I spent a lot of time trying to understand that. And, you know, of all the reading I've done, apparently it's a Tamil word called carry. So almost phonetically, that's why we call it cash and carry. K-A-R-I.
Yep.
It's a word from Tamil Nadu. And I think historically, it was used to, I mean, it's still used to denote anything wet with spices in it. And I think it was almost, yeah, exactly. But the interesting thing is back in India, you don't have anything like a curry powder. You've got various spice mixes like garam masalas and, you know, sambar powders down south and, you know, various different spice mixes, but there's nothing like a curry powder. So this is interesting. I grew up in India, and it was only when I first got to know my Sri Lankan friends and went to Sri Lanka that I actually found dishes being referred to as a red curry or a white curry, a bit like Thailand, and also specific curry powders, which are blends of various spices.
We're not grinding these spices.
We're not.
is that what you decided?
I'm just having a think.
Okay.
I don't want to grind these spices up. These are going to be whole and we'll pull them out before we serve it.
Right, fine.
Throw them off.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Merry Christmas.
We're going to go half of the fresh stuff into the paste and then the other half to bubble and simmer after all of our stuff has gone.
You're halfway.
Paste.
Slice this into rings, but if we're going to use it for garnish later.
Rings.
Yeah, like onion rings. Like, no, slices. Rings. Yes. No, you have to do it in oil.
Oh, I told you that!
Why did you? You had it in front of you.
Why not? It's
Now
the
he's
same-
toasted the oil in the spices.
This is humiliating.
Right, I'm now just going to pour my oily spices into this paste.
Tomatoes.
Stop. Stop going in. Green stuff for
Yep.
flavour.
Pandan and
Pandan.
leaves.
Maybe, yeah.
So look, I think Jay got it right when he said the chicken's about medium rare, but that's fine. We're going to cook it out, and while that gently bubbles, we'll move on to the next stage and Karan will show you how it should have been done. Same ingredients in front of you. Where would you start?
Back in Sri Lanka, there are two ways of cooking curries. There's the cold method, which is literally take the right amount of all the ingredients, put it into an earthenware pot, and very often just do it over wood fire, which is how, I've seen people cook for me in the villages. So there's no sort of browning, frying, anything, which is practically, in some ways, what you guys ended up doing with the, forehand tomato stock going in at the same time,
but it's not,
him reaching over, and all that kind of stuff, right? What I'll talk to you about is something that we've developed for the restaurants, the way I cook at home, which might be different from the way others. So there's no right and wrong method, but ours is more the sort of layering a curry. What I normally put in marination, obviously a little bit of seasoning, so a pinch of salt. You don't want to salt for the entire recipe, which is something I think you guys might have forgotten to do.
Did you not
completely.
put salt when you put the?
It just creats that whole osmosis. It brings the moisture outside. Thanks. I had already seasoned that.
Damn. That's salty.
I have put the Jaffna curry powder, just a large pinch of it, just to marinate. There's a little bit of turmeric. And it goes back to the whole Ayurvedic science of cooking, because turmeric is meant to be a great, antibacterial. Let's crack on. Coconut oil, generous amount in there. Just mince that up as finely as you can. There was debate about these curry leaves.
Okay, yeah.
You were close. Pandan, very good. Pandan leaf there. Very common ingredient in a lot of East Asian cooking. It's a Malaysian Thai, and I find it interesting how it's used a lot, along with lemongrass, another very common ingredient in Sri Lankan food. Added in our whole spices, which is really important. They kind of simmer, they really release all their aromatics, all those lovely essential oils into the fat, because they're not going to be doing that in the water. Next stage is going to be onion. I go in at a medium-high heat. I like to slice my onions. You can finely chop them, you could roughly chop them, because at the end of the day, you want them to break down in the curry. What I don't tend to do too much of is blitz them into a paste, because I find the water separates a lot, and it's much harder then to cook it. I've always found browning of the onions, like super brown, crispy, takes a long, long time, is more sort of North Indian. Whereas with a lot of Sri Lankan food, all you need to do is soften or take them to a light brown stage.
So I've always been told that onion will take longer to cook down than garlic, and you're more likely to burn garlic if you put that in first.
So I think there it comes down to sugar content, and garlic is notoriously sweet. People don't realize this, but a garlic has tons and tons of sugar in it. Ginger actually can go in any time. But I think ginger and garlic in my head just work together. They're like a marriage. The key with tomatoes is, how often have you had that curry, especially those curries that call for a lot of tomato, we just get the skin at the end. Or even, Italian sauces where they've not been cooked well, you get that skin at the end, you get that sort of half broken down tomato with that bit of onion. You need to respect every single ingredient and cook it for the right amount of time. At this stage, I'm going to chuck my tomato in. You want to just dump it in?
Swap these.
Should we do some real cooking?
Look, the tomatoes are broken down now. Can you see that? I mean, you still see skins, but the test for me is by the end of it, when you eat that curry, you don't want to see lumps and chunks and skin. Again, another really common stage in a lot of Indian recipes or Sri Lankan recipes is cook till the oil separates. And that is exactly that. When the onions and when the tomatoes have cooked well, you kind of see the oil coming to the sides. Obviously, you have to use the right amount of oil in the first place for that to happen. So at this stage, I'm now going to add the dried spices. Jaffna curry powder, there's going to be a good amount of that. These things could have gone in with the whole spices at the beginning. I just find that they're delicate, they're green. You don't want to lose all that spice by frying it for a long time, so you add it at this stage instead. This stage, chicken goes in. And you don't need to go sort of crispy, stir-fried chicken. It's just literally a little bit of browning. So you see the tomatoes here, they're completely broken down. You've got little bits of skin that'll just disappear and melt away into the curry. The onions softened up completely. You want to go in with your liquid, which is water or stock in this case. Stock again just intensifies things. And finally, once that's reduced to the consistency you want, add in your coconut milk. Chilies in at this stage if you want them. Last bit of curry leaf. This is almost like your garnish. I'm just going to chuck that whole thing in. That's it, guys. That's me.
Nice. Good job. Well, let's have a little clear down and maybe taste them side by side and see how those little tips made a difference. It's not often you get the chance to do this side by side, so you can try your one. Try Karan's one. Let's see what you think. Visually, you can see a slight difference, but have a taste.
Cheers, boys. We're only having mine.
Oh, that's delicious.
What do you think? Good.
So good.
Ooh,
I'm sure yours is great as well.
I tell you what, it's not short of flavour.
It's tasty, isn't
There is
it?
a lot of flavour in that. A nice bit of heat, but not too spicy.
As being able to see the paste, you can taste the paste.
Yeah.
You can. It's very textury.
Yeah.
It's not smooth.
I think that comes from the onions. And actually, you guys would have had a bang-on curry. Most of what you did was not far off. It was just the onions. I think blitzing the onions with the ginger and garlic.
To try the second one.
Sauce first.
Look how smooth that sauce is.
So creamy.
Same ingredients, a fraction of the amount of equipment, and about the same time.
Our one has more layers going on in terms of there are more textured layers.
Yeah.
But yours has less textured layers, but far more flavour layers.
Outstanding.
Understanding the oil and the whole spice, and then the onion, then the fragrance, then the dried spice, learning all that is the bit that I think is standout difference there.
That tastes like a professional made it, and that tastes a bit like a home cook made it. But it's exactly the same quantities of exactly the same ingredients. Big mistakes in mind. What have we learned?
If you're making a Sri Lankan curry, don't worry about making a paste. Don't blend it up because that's going to make the onions more watery.
Cook the whole spices out early on because they're hardy. They'll cook for ages, release more flavour. And when adding the dry spices, add it in later when the oil starts to split, so they've got something to cling on to.
Fresh pandan and fresh curry leaves. That's a revelation for me.
But if you can't get them fresh, freeze them. So using
Yep.
freshly frozen as opposed to dried.
Making sure that tomatoes break down so you're not left with big skinny bits.
That's remarkable. Same tomato, same ripeness, same size. Yours had more cooking and still hasn't cooked down.
You guys have criticized your curry a lot. I personally think it's not a bad curry at all. You had some really good thought process behind it. I think you came up with still a very tasty curry. I'm going to show you what you can do with that if you want to take it to the next level. And then obviously this curry we can eat with some bread on the side.
Oh, great.
I'm going to take your curry and show you how to make it taste good.
How to save it, but this is also great for leftovers.
How are we turning that into something delicious?
More delicious.
More delicious.
Thanks.
It is delicious. Honestly, it is. Look, one of my absolute favorite dishes is a dish called Kothu roti. I love the way they're nodding. What is it?
So roti means bread
Yeah.
and Kothu. Barry, I've done one. Do you want to do
Everyone's got
You know what?
everyone's got Kothu roti.
I've eaten it, but I couldn't tell you exactly what it translates to.
Where did the hoppers come
Kothu, kothu. Yeah, absolutely. That's where you've had it. So kothu kothu just means chopped up. And it's basically a chopped up
Noise it's
roti.
making.
Yeah,
It's the noise it
exactly.
makes. It's the noise it
Nick
makes.
is coming back to
It's
you.
more,
Remember?
almost like these plasterer's paddles that you're using on this massive flat top, chucking all these ingredients through, just chop, 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 and you can hear that sound from miles away when you're in Sri Lanka. Usually in crowded markets, very, very popular late night meal. I've brought along with me some roti dough that I've made, and it's all those ingredients in there. If you could chop up an onion for me, shred that cabbage, cut this up, grate some carrot, and then we'll start stir frying it all together. In the meantime, I can do the roti. I'm gonna stretch it out. Because these are the smaller ones, I'm just gonna do it by hand. It's harder to stretch these or throw these, as we say, but you want it to be fairly thin because remember, you're gonna chop it, it's gonna be like noodles. So that roti's gone in on a dry non-stick pan on medium heat, just a little drizzle of oil. Now at the restaurant, because we've got this whole lot of roti to do, we've got one flat top, you can't wait for one to cook at a time. So we'd actually put the second one on top of this right now. So you put some oil, put the second one in, flip it over, put the third one on, flip it over until you have a stack that high and they don't stick to each other. You want this in just an even hand here and there. And you kind of slap it like that. Flour, little drizzle of oil, just sort of coil it up into this lovely, lovely paratha. And that goes underneath. Press that down, let it sit. Again, you want it to rest. Brilliant.
Yes.
Brilliant. I think that's good. Those rotis we made, roll them up and then just thin strips.
Too much bread is thrown away, and that's what I love about dishes that upcycle it into something that doesn't just save it, but is arguably better.
Onions go into that. White cabbage, I'm gonna put that in at this stage. Carrot as well. beaten egg, salt and pepper. Roti goes in. I'm going to show you what happens. So go little by little, add a little bit of that sauce.
So you're using our curry here because
I'm using your curry here.
our curry would be the best.
And actually your curry would be perfect because it's quite chunky and
it's got texture.
you know, it's got texture, which you want. So what he's doing is chopping and stir frying at the same time. Guess the song.
It's River Dance.
There we go, all done.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh.
Yeah.
Absolutely hits the spot for that end of the night food, doesn't it?
And it's that texture of noodles, right? It's almost like eating pad thai noodles or ho fun noodles.
But with a still slight crunch of those veg. Nice.
I'm going to eat some of this as well because I partially helped make this. Wow.
Karan, thank you so much for coming down. It's not just the normals we've learned today, we have all learned so much, so thank you.
Absolutely loved it. It's so nice to be, you know, behind the set, see how small this place is compared to how big you make it look on camera, and still manage to churn out all that amazing content all the time.
So where can our audience find out a little bit more about you?
There's obviously Hoppers London is the restaurant, and you can find us on Instagram at Hoppers London. We've also got a Facebook page. Personally, I go under Karan Cook, so I do all the non-Hopper stuff once in a while, a bit of fun like this. And obviously, if you want to order the curry powders, a whole range of other Sri Lankan products, Hoppers Cash and Carry, our brand new retail platform which we launched last year.
And I don't know about you, but I think it's almost time for another Chef Skills Challenge to see if what you three have learned today you can actually put into practice. If you like the idea of that, comment down below. Yep.
I'm definitely commenting on that one.
Grab your number after this.
Like when you wrestle.
Pardon?
When you're oiled up and you wrestle, you don't stick. Same thing, it's not going to stick because of the oil.
We're rolling.